Thank you much. Welcome to Board of Trustees, Union Township. We'll call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. And I know we have a flag amongst us. Our treasurer has a flag. And so let's open with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And our clerk will be a little late this evening. So in the interim, before she gets here, we'll need to have a temporary person to take her spot. So I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint someone to that position.
I'll make a motion to have Kim Rice be our temporary clerk for this evening.
I second.
All right.
Motion by Hauk, support by Bills, if I got that right.
Yeah.
To appoint Kim Rice as our, I don't know what you call it, pro temp
Interim
clerk.
clerk.
Interim clerk. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, I guess I'm gonna ask you to raise your hand if for yay. And if you're opposed, raise your hand.
All right.
All right.
Motion carries.
With that, would you, Treasurer Rice, be willing to do roll call, please?
Absolutely. All right. Trustee Hauk.
Present, location Mount Pleasant, or location Union Township, Michigan.
Thank you. Supervisor Milky.
Present, Union Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
Trustee Bills.
Here, Union Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
Perfect. Trustee Brown.
Here, Union Township, Isabella County, State of Michigan.
Trustee Thering.
Present, Union Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
And Treasurer Rice here, Union Township, Isabella County, Michigan. And our clerk is going to be late, so she's excused for now, and she'll be here later.
All right, with that, we move on to item 4 on our agenda, approval of the agenda. My only concern is it'd be nice to have Lisa here for some of the discussions that we'll have as we look at board appointments as liaisons, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'd be happy if someone would consider moving that just a little bit later, maybe after board reports or something. I'm assuming she'll be here in timely fashion. But with that, we do need to approve our agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, but move item A in board reports and board comments to item D.
Second.
So, just to be clear, move item 8A after 8D, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
All right, any discussion?
that
What if we
was
needed-
how I was gonna word it too, Mr. Bill. Yep.
What if we needed a little more time? Can we amend it?
We can talk real slow.
I'm assuming we have latitude. I mean, if you'd rather move it back after maybe consent agenda, I would hope she'll be here, right?
She'll be here. She had, yeah, like they were saying, she had talked with me as well. So she will be here, but I just want to make if it's important that she's here, we need to.
Make sure to give her the time to be here.
Right.
Rodney might have a long report too, so.
I'll stretch it out.
Fair enough. All right. So any further discussion on the motion to move item 8A after 8D, otherwise approving our agenda? Seeing none?
Oh, wait.
I'm
Bill.
sorry, Bill, did you have
No,
something?
no, no.
Treasurer Rice, would you get a roll call vote on this, please?
Absolutely. All right. Trustee Thering,
Yes.
Treasurer Rice, yes. Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Bills,
Yes.
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Trustee Hauk.
Yes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sorry, I was just letting them know everybody
Oh,
said
I'm
yes.
sorry.
You already said your aye.
Thank you for that. We have no presentations that I'm aware of tonight, nor public hearings. And with that, we'll open up public comment. Public comment is restricted to 3 minutes regarding items on this agenda. Note, this is not this is an opportunity for comments only. Questions to the board will not be answered at this time. For specific answers to questions, please call Township Hall 989-772-4600. And if you decide to speak during public comment, please state your name and address for the record. And with that, if you're new to Zoom meetings, if you move your mouse in the Zoom meeting, you'll notice a toolbar at the bottom of your screen, and there's a participants button. If you click on that, it'll open the participants panel. And at the bottom of that panel is now I have to look at it, a raise hand button. And that would indicate to us on the board that you would like to speak in the public comment. With that, let's see, if you're calling in on a phone, *9 would give the same effect of raising your hand and getting attention. So with that, we'll open public comment at 7:06 p.m. Just looking for things. I'll give it a minute more because I half expected someone to request the floor tonight.
And these are things on this agenda, if
Correct.
anybody missed that.
Thanks for reinforcing that. I hope we're not getting hands for because of difficulties, but I am seeing none. All right.
Supervisor, I see a couple new names. Would you like me to unmute anybody just to make sure? Or
Well,
not?
I half expected because of the item on our agenda that Mr. Malley might want to speak. Not that he has to, but he might want that floor.
Mr. Malley, you're
Yep,
now unmuted.
I believe we'll just see what happens with the meeting here. We just want.
Okay, and I
Okay.
can remute you.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Just want to make, I guess we got to get through it. If we get approved, I think we're going to be good. So we'll leave it at that, to be honest with you.
Okay.
All right, thank you for that. Are you aware of something else, Mark, that regarding public that
I was just gonna check with PD May.
okay.
I've asked her to unmute. She hasn't. So, I'll just send it back to you. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you. All right, with that, we'll close public comment at 7:09 p.m. Moving on to item 8 on our agenda. Item 8A, which was previously B, monthly report under separate cover. So we've not received that, correct? Because I didn't see that.
Right, I'll be sending that under separate cover. I didn't get a chance to get it done.
Okay, and then item 8C, Planning Commission and ZBA updates by our Community and Economic Development Director, Mr. Nanny. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. We'll start with the Zoning Board of Appeals, who has had a very quiet time recently. They did not have a meeting in December. They did not have a meeting in January. They will not have a meeting in February, simply because we did not have any agenda items for them. I will say they will have a hearing in March. We just received a complete application for a sign variance, so they will have a hearing on a sign variance application for their March agenda at this point. On the other hand, the Plan Commission had a very busy January. They had 2 presentations at their January 19th meeting. First one was on the new county jail. The presentation similar to what was given to the board in December. The commissioners had a lot of good questions, and the applicants have just turned in today the updated plans and updated documentation for their special use permit application, which will be headed back to the Plan Commission for their February agenda. The other presentation item was an introduction to a project to update our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. This is an item that is budgeted in our 2021 budget, and so we're introducing that project to them, just to providing them with copies of the current document, which was from 2010, and had a brief discussion about that update project. In addition to that, the Plan Commission met with members of the Sidewalk and Pathways Prioritization Committee and had a good discussion on kind of long-term priorities, and also on policies related to temporary relief from sidewalk construction for certain circumstances related to development projects. It sounds like Plan Commission intends to have some follow-up on that, but it was a good conversation. The Plan Commission did take action on a number of applications. One is for a project that actually dates back all the way to 2005. Sam's Club is now going to construct the filling station on their south end of their property that was originally envisioned in 2005, but was not constructed at that time. And the Plan Commission approved their preliminary site plan for that. They also approved a preliminary site plan for a project called the Den on Broomfield, which is a mixed-use building on Broomfield at Sweeney. The first projects come in that format. It's a commercial on the ground floor and rental apartments above. As a preliminary site plan was approved for that. The February agenda is also looking similarly full, as a number of projects that previously received preliminary site plan approval will be coming back for their final site plan approvals before construction. So those we have several of those on the February agenda already. That is the extent of my report. I can't stretch it any further than that.
Any questions for our director? Not seeing hands. I have a question. Sorry. Yes, Treasurer Rice.
Oh, mine just had to do with the Sidewalks and Prioritization Committee. Because ours was with the Planning Commission, do you know when our next one is going to be?
The committee set a schedule last fall, and I believe the next one is in March. I will double check that. I'll make sure that the schedule is sent out to you. And
okay, yeah, I wasn't at the October one, so I wanted to make sure that I got that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a couple questions. You mentioned the den. I think you said the Den on Broomfield.
Mm-hmm.
Is that that's the property that came before the Planning Commission maybe a year and a half ago, and it was kind of conceptual at that point?
That is correct. Yes, and at the time, or former zoning ordinance was not very conducive to it. It allowed for mixed use buildings, but it had some pretty restrictive standards related to the apartments that were causing trouble. The applicants actually last year, about a year ago at this time, proposed an amendment. They actually submitted a text amendment application to amend those regulations. When I came on board, I had some conversations with them about that and suggested that they let us get the new ordinance in place, and we would look at this particular topic. And that I knew the new ordinance was already going to have some changes to it for that section. Haven't talked with the consultants about that. And so they agreed to that. They withdrew that text amendment. And anyway, went with the new ordinance addressed some of the concerns they had and give them a little bit more flexibility related to the apartments. And so they're proceeding under that. And the other thing the new ordinance did, the old ordinance required a special use permit for this mixed use building. The new ordinance is strictly a site plan process. So it simplified things a little bit for them.
That's nice to hear. The last part in particular, that it's not a, a special use, that it's just part of our zoning now.
Yep.
Because there certainly are areas in our township where mixed use makes sense. The other question I had with the Parks and Rec, the master plan for the Parks and Recreation. So that's expected to be, the goal is to have that finished this year?
That is the goal, right? The state, the main benefit of a Parks and Recreation master plan is that if it is accepted by the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, then the township becomes eligible for state DNR recreation grant funds. And they have a cycle, and essentially we would need to get the project done and in their hands by the end of the year in order to be in their 2022 funding cycle potentially for projects.
Well, you spoke to exactly what I was wanting to lift up. In particular for our newer board members that may not be aware that we're not eligible for a lot of those grants because our current master plan for the parks had expired some time ago. So I'm excited to see that moving forward. So I'm assuming it's a very public process like any master plan, right? And so, but the initial work's being done in-house by staff?
That is correct, yes. That this is going to be managed by the staff. You're looking at the manager of the project. I'll be overseeing it. I've done some projects like this before for other communities, and if we need to bring somebody in, we certainly will look at that. But the intent is to do it in-house. We actually have a wealth of data available. One of the things that consultants are usually good for is hunting down all the information that we need. In this case, first of all, our own plan, the 2010 plan, while it's a little elderly as far as the state is concerned, was very well done and has a wealth of information in it. In addition to that, we benefit from the fact that the city of Mount Pleasant just did the same project last summer, and the data that they needed is the same data that we need, and so we can borrow that information where we need to update. We can use the information that they've already prepared. So with that in mind, the intent is to do it in-house, and yes, it is a public process. One of the first questions that we'll be discussing with the Planning Commission is public participation and ways to do that. The state has some guidelines that they ask for. They're flexible. We have a lot of options under it, so we'll be talking about how we want to pursue that part of the project.
Thanks for the answers. All right. Did I hear something? There's no hands, right?
Nope.
Okay. That brings us to where we didn't quite want to be yet.
Oh, did you get my text? Lisa just texted me. She said she just left the casino. That's about 5 minutes ago. So
What about my accounts payable?
That comes after consent agenda.
Yeah, that's
So we're
part of-
not quite there yet.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
you're excited for that.
What if I make a motion to move the board appointments down until the end of new business? Can we do that?
I think Bill might have to amend is it Bill that made the first motion? Doesn't he have to amend it?
No, I think we can
We
do it.
already voted on it, didn't we? So
Yeah,
it's
we
done.
did. I don't
Sorry.
see-
I'm not a parliamentarian on this. There's no legal issues with us moving this down, right? Okay.
You can move it down to the end of new business.
Okay. Well, I will make a motion then to move board appointments down to the end of new business before extended public comment to allow more time for our clerk to get back, so we can have a discussion with all the board.
So with that, we have a motion on the floor. Is there support?
I support.
Motion by Rice, support by Brown. Any further discussion on this? Seeing no hands. Treasurer Rice, would you do us the honors of a vote?
Yep. All right, Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Treasurer Rice, yes. Trustee Bills,
Yes.
Trustee Hauk,
Yes.
Trustee Thering,
Yes.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
all in favor.
All right. Thank you. That moves us to item 9, consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion
Support.
by Bills, support by Rice. And Trustee Bills, you did the accounts, the payable?
Yes.
No,
Well, everything was straightforward, but I have another question about how we go about buying supplies, because we are being charged double for janitorial supplies. A simple search shows that we're being charged double. So I don't know why that is, but it's a lot of, I mean, $100 for janitorial supplies overcharged, in my opinion. So I need to know how that process is done so we can rethink it.
Can you be more specific, Connie? Was there a specific item?
Yes, there was. So there was oh gosh, well, I can scroll down to it. The item was from CNC Enterprises. It was Cottonelle toilet tissue, foaming soap, and Kleenex, and we were charged $212. I did a apples for apples search, and I came up with about 110.
We'll get back to you. We'll give the board something. I don't think I'm hearing a suggestion that you remove that invoice from the payables.
Right. That's right. You're not hearing that. I just want to know what the process is, because it seems like it's willy-nilly or free for all. They can charge us whatever they want, and I don't find that to be acceptable. That's all.
All right, we have motion on the floor. Any further?
Yeah, I just have one
Discussion.
question. I have one question.
Trustee Hauk?
Yes, Crapo Ford, it says like 2014 F-150 and oil change, $219. I mean, I don't want to get nitpicky, but $219, I mean, there might have been other things. There might have been an air filter, maybe windshield wipers put on it, I'm not sure, but.
There were, Bill. Yeah,
What was it?
there were some additional things to that.
Okay, that's the only question I had. Thank you.
All right, any other further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Treasurer Rice, would you get an answer to the motion, please?
All right. Trustee Bills,
Yes.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Hauk,
Yes.
Trustee Thering,
Yes.
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
and Treasurer Rice, yes. All right, 6 yes.
Oh, what I missed, and I missed this last time because of adjustments to our agenda.
Board member reports
Board member report.
again.
I
And
missed
that
this
would have
last
given us a
time.
little more time.
Yeah, my apologies again. And I'm really sorry we missed this last time. So with that, I do want to go around to our board and give them opportunity to give any reports that they may have. And I'll start on the bottom of my screen and kind of go up. So Trustee Therian, do you have anything to report?
Not this meeting, but I bet you I will the next meeting.
Awesome. Yeah, we're about to make some of these appointments where this becomes more important. So,
Right. right.
Trustee Brown.
Not this meeting, but I bet after the appointment, I will have something to report.
Trustee Rice. I'm sorry, Treasurer Rice. My apologies.
That's okay. Technically, I am one of the trustees, so
Right.
you know. The sidewalks and pathways prioritization committee. We were, you know, Mr. Nanny already spoke about it. We were part of the planning commission meeting. And we got to kind of go back and forth and get a little bit of direction in that from the planning commission on some things they want us to discuss and look into. One thing I did want to mention, and I've been hearing a lot lately, and I kind of explained to them that, you know, that it takes a little bit to get through all of the steps to see what, you know, the plan put into action. One of the things that I keep hearing is, okay, we've approved for these things, but we're not seeing anything done. We're not seeing anything built. So, you know, that's kind of been, you know, trying to guide them through and say, look, you know, you may not see it now, but the money has been set aside for it. Plans are going forward on it. And so it's just a matter of taking the steps to make it better, and to, you know, kind of tell them, look, you know, we are hearing them. We do want to get this stuff going. And yes, we know the money is set aside, and yes, we would like to spend it on these things. So, because that they're like, well, if you don't spend it, you lose it. And like, we're like, no, it's being rolled over. So, you know, it's just trying to explain to them the process and it all. And so there was a little bit of frustrations there that I think are better now. But just so you guys are aware.
Thank you. Trustee Bills, did you have a question for our treasurer?
Well, as a previous member on that committee, I can tell you that that committee's been being told that for the last 2.5 years, the same thing. So I can understand the frustration, and I still don't understand what the process is, and nobody told us. So, you know, it's never been put in writing. What is the process? Why not? Why can't we put it in writing? Why can't we say exactly where we are on every single piece? Why can't we say that? That's what I want to know. That's all I've got.
Is that, I mean, I don't know if that's something, and maybe Mark can answer that, or if he wants Rodney to answer that, I don't know, that's up to him. But I mean, is that something that we have record of that could be shared with the board, like where these steps are in that, Mark, or where we are in each of the projects?
We can do a better job, I think, of keeping the sidewalk and pathways committee apprised of projects. They're advisory in nature. And I know they have some priorities. And I think we probably inform them of projects that we've appropriated money for.
Mhm.
And I think it's those projects that you might be referring to, where
Yeah.
we've appropriated money.
Yeah.
And we can also, and I don't know the answer right now, but in one of your annual reports, when we're kind of recapping progress made towards your various ends, we let you know how many feet of sidewalks was installed in the prior year and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, they go by parcel number.
But we'll continue working with the sidewalk advisory committee as they desire.
Thanks, Mark.
Somebody's wanted. Any other questions for our treasurer? With that, I'll move to trustee Bills. Anything to report?
No, not yet.
And trustee Hauk?
Yes, I talked to Pat Gaffney at the Road Commission. There's a meeting there tomorrow morning, but it's a Zoom meeting again. And it's just, you can't hear what they're saying. I mean, they're in a big building and you can't hear anything. So I'll try to attend that in the morning, but it just, I can't ever hear what they're saying. But anyways, I talked to Pat Gaffney about some projects that we have. The Isabella Road project, he said that there's some ADA ramps that need to be installed yet. And then he told me that the widening of the intersection of Isabella and High Street, MDOT has hired on Malley Construction and Rank Electric for that project. And then Broomfield and Lincoln, he's gonna send letters out to the 6 people that we need easements from. He's having trouble getting a hold of a couple of them. One's in Florida, and then one, he doesn't know if it's a rental or not. So I suggested that he call Trustee Brown because it's right by Trustee Brown's house.
Yeah, it's a rental. I know who owns it. Have him get a hold of me.
I told him I'd ask you tonight, so, okay,
I've already signed my stuff for him, so.
okay. That's it, thank you.
Trustee Hauk, so I misunderstood. I heard Isabella and Broomfield. You meant Lincoln and Broomfield?
The other one was Broomfield and Lincoln. The 6 easements are on
Okay.
Broomfield and Lincoln.
In my head, I was hearing one thing. You probably said it
Oh.
correctly. I was picturing Isabella. I'm like, I didn't know we had easement problems there.
No, those have all been taken care of.
Yeah, okay. And the easements that we had on High and Isabella, that's all resolved now too, correct?
That got resolved like maybe September of last year, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, forgive me for forgetting that.
Yeah,
I knew that
no,
was a
it's no big
sticking
deal.
point a bit. All right. Any questions for Trustee Hauk? Seeing none, Mark and I met with Dow Chemical, I believe it was last Friday. Mark sent out an email regarding this. So if you didn't see it, take note of that email. No action by us is needed. They were just kind of informing us of reclosing some of those old wells to make them a little safer for our water aquifers. And Mark and I also met with Isabella County. Isabella County submitted an SUP application, and our director was speaking to this a little bit earlier, the process that they're going through for the new county jail. And it needed some additional technical review that was done on their initial application. As I understand it, needed some more specificity with regards to water and sewer supply. And it sounds like maybe that's what they've come back to you with, is some of the additional details for that. So I don't know that I'm speculating here, but I know we needed additional information from the county. So as we met with the county, per their request, it was the chair of the commission, Jim Horton, and the county manager. They wanted to learn more about the township and needed to explore options with regards to the water hookup, as the nearest township water lines are some distance from that proposed site. They just really needed better understanding, and they're exploring their options. So at this point, the ball's kind of in their court, and until we hear back from the county on what their needs are. And I think that's all I have to report on. And with that, that takes us on the agenda to new business item A, adoption of McGurk subdivision paving special assessment district resolution 3 for the establishment of paving special assessment district. And with that, I see Kim Smith is identified as maybe wanting to introduce this. Is that correct?
I'll go ahead and introduce it.
Okay, my apologies.
Good evening, everybody. The item before you tonight is a resolution. It's the third one in the process, moving towards the establishment of a paving Special Assessment District. There's paperwork on this on page 24, starting on page 24 of your agenda packet. The residents of McGurk subdivision, we've received a formal petition seeking this work to pave the various streets in the neighborhood. The petition was reviewed for sufficiency, and a certificate of validity was certified by the prior township supervisor. All that was done via resolution number 1, which occurred in August of 2020, at your August 12th meeting. You also previously approved resolution number 2 at your October 28th, 2020 meeting. That resolution tentatively approved the Board of Trustees' intention to make the improvement. It tentatively designated the special assessment district. It set a time for a public hearing, which was held on November 24th, 2020. And it directed the staff, the administration, to complete cost estimates and make those available to the public in time for the public hearing that was held. All that was done. The next step in the process is the resolution before you tonight, which does several things. It approves the plans and cost estimates as presented in your packet. It designates the boundaries of the district, and there's a map in your packet that displays those boundaries. It designates the term of the special assessment district. Your policy says 5 or 10 years. The resolution has 10 years in it. So if you approve it as written, it would be a 10-year term of the special assessment. And it directs the supervisor, and in the case of charter townships and our township in particular, by extension, the assessor, to prepare the special assessment roll. If you do approve this resolution, next steps would involve another public hearing prior to resolution number 4 would set a public date. So there's another public hearing if you continue with the process. And then resolution number 5, which is the final resolution that confirms the assessment roll, that sets the interest rate on the special assessments. So with that, Supervisor Malcolm, turn it back to you or the board for any questions you may have. Kim Smith and myself are available.
All right, thank you.
And
Can I
Clerk
start?
Cody is coming on.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution 3 of the McGurk subdivision paving special assessment district.
Or
Motion by Bill, support by Brown. Did I get that right?
give it to Brown. This-
I'll support it.
Yeah, give it to Jeff.
I was gonna say, I thought it was Hauk.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Bill.
No, that's okay. I've already talked enough tonight.
And Clerk Cody is back, so after the end of, or when we need to do roll call.
Clerk Cody, we are on item A of the agenda. Just got introduced. And we did move the appointments. Trying to think what it was labeled.
Yeah, so the board appointments were moved to the end of new business.
So that you could participate in that. Okay, the only comment I'd like to make on this, I'm not seeing other hands, is we had some questions in the last meeting regarding this from the public. And those questions that were done in the public comment, I did indicate that I would reach out to those two individuals and get them answers. And staff prepared responses to some of those so that I was able to respond properly. So I did contact those two individuals. And I think one important question that I've heard from the few residents in that district, just because I want this in the public, is, the construction costs for this year are kind of unknown for another month, about a month. And there's concern that because they started this process last year, and if they get into this and suddenly they feel the costs have skyrocketed, and not that I'm anticipating that, but COVID's wreaked a lot of havoc on various parts of our economy, that there is public opportunity in the future and for this board to stop this if something seems out of whack. And so I just want to, if it doesn't appear to be what was originally desired by those that signed on for it. And so I just wanted to state that. And with that, any other comments on the resolution or on the motion? Lisa, did you hear the motion?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, the motion by Bills to adopt the McGurk subdivision paving special assessment district resolution 3 for the establishment of a paving special assessment district. Seeing no more discussion, Clerk Cody, would you be willing to take a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Bills,
Yes.
Treasurer Rice,
Yes.
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Thering,
Yes.
Trustee Hauk,
Yes.
and Clerk Cody, yes.
Thank you much. That takes us to agenda item new business 10B. Conduct a second reading of the proposed PREZ 20-03 request from Grayling Investors LLC to rezone the northern 465 feet of PID 14-026-20-001-06 from the B4 General Business to the B5 Highway Business District, and to adopt the proposed ordinance number 20-01 to the Charter Township of Union's official zoning map accordingly. And with that, I'll hand this off to our manager for introduction of this, or reintroduction.
Thank you. And just to kind of orientate you, this is property located at the southwest corner of Springfield and Isabella. As indicated, it's currently split zoned. If approved, it would become, the parcel would become zoned all E5. There was an application for a special use permit for filling station component approved under the prior zoning ordinance. However, the site plan application was made under the new zoning ordinance. During the review of that site plan, it was identified that the location of the drive-through portion of the development was in the B4, which isn't allowed under the new code, hence the request for the rezoning. The Board of Trustees held a first reading and introduced this item at your December 16th, 2020 meeting. All postings that came out of that action have occurred. And so with that, this is the second reading, and you then consider the final approval of the rezoning. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Looking at the board to see if there's any questions or motions to be made.
I would move to conduct a second reading of the proposed PREZ 20-03 request from Grayling Investors LLC to rezone the northern 465 feet of parcel ID 14-026-20-0001-06 from the B4 general business to the B5 highway business district and to adopt the proposed ordinance number 21-01 to amend the Charter Township of Union's official zoning map accordingly.
Support.
Motion by Therian, support by Bills. Discussion? Not seeing any hands. So wave it if I'm missing it. Otherwise, Lisa, Cody, would you be willing to give us a result on the motion, please?
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Treasurer Rice,
Yes.
Trustee Hauk,
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Thering,
Yes.
and Trustee Bills.
Yes.
Thank you, Clerk Cody. That moves us to new business, item C. Discussion action to take action on PSUP 20-02 special use permit application from Malley Construction for expansion of their contractor's yard on 8.59 acres of land. With that, I'd be happy to hand this back to our manager for introduction.
Thank you. This is a special use permit application from Malley Construction for an expansion of their contractor's yard. This is located south of East Airport Road, east of Packard. It's in the light industrial zoning district. There's information that starts in your agenda packet on page 39. This permit and land use process, site plan approval, and all that is to facilitate the expansion of the business. A contractor's yard is a special use in our zoning code in the light industrial district, hence the need for the application. The project includes construction of a gravel parking lot for outdoor storage of construction materials, use of an existing building on site for indoor storage, some site grading. The Planning Commission evaluated the application at their December 15th, 2020 meeting. They evaluated the special use permit application against the requirements that are in the zoning code. They determined after deliberation and voted to recommend to the Township Board of Trustees to approve the special use permit application with two conditions: that a final site plan is approved. You may recall special condition uses go with the land. So we want to make sure that, you know, the development does occur. So that's one condition, that the site plan get approved, and that the site plan, when it comes before the Planning Commission, does not include information relative to Packard Road and the closure of same. And we're doing that so that we can look at the special use permit on its own merits, standalone. Some of you may be aware that there's a question regarding Packard Road. The parties have agreed, but they've acknowledged we need to address that, but that'll be under a separate cover, if you will, than this special use permit application. And with that, I'll turn it back to the board for any questions.
I'll
Trustee,
make a motion to take action on the PSUP 20-02 special use permit application from Malley Construction for the expansion of their contractor's yard on 8.59 acres of land, property identification number 1401130000107, and property ID number 14011400200, south of Airport Road and east of Packard Road in the light industrial zoning district as presented.
I'll second.
Trustee Bills?
I have some concerns. What I really want to know is, on December 15th, the planning commission voted to approve the site plan with the exception. Then on January 15th, Mr. Malley's lawyer, Mr. Hackett, said that Mr. Malley's not willing to permanently take that off the table, the road closure. So I don't understand what the repercussions are that if we approve the site plan, he goes ahead and does his contractor lot and then closes the road anyway. What are we gonna do? Go to court? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, I think I'll address that question, but I also want to just verify Trustee Hauk's motion.
Item A, as presented.
Okay.
And then Brown supported it, but that didn't get acknowledged.
Was there
All right,
support?
I did hear that.
Okay.
So then back to Ms. Bills, the site special use permit is for the use of the land as a contractor's yard. And that's the motion that's been made is for the application as presented. Which the application as presented includes reference to closing that road.
Well, okay.
Doesn't say
What
that.
about, yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yes.
That's what you suggested, that they allow them to close the road.
That's what the current site plan is suggested. In the planning commission meeting, when they were talking about the special condition use, and naturally some discussion occurs as it relates to the site plan. It was agreed by Mr. Malley to remove the reference to the road closure from the site plan.
That's item C.
And that is item C. There's 4 options because we like to give the board options. What the administration,
We've never done options before.
consistent with the planning commission, we're recommending that the board of trustees support the planning commission recommendation. And they have 2 conditions that they've articulated as it relates to the special use permit application, one of which is that Mr. Malley remove the reference to closing the road off the site plan, which he has agreed to do. And then back to Ms. Bills, trustee Bills. That's removing the discussion as it relates to the special use permit and the site plan. There, it is acknowledged that there's still an issue with Packard Road that's going to need more time and involvement by all the parties to resolve in the final analysis. But while that is going on, if the special condition use permit is approved and eventually the site plan is approved, Mr. Malley and his business would be able to expand their contractor's yard and operate. And I just want to check myself with Mr. Nanny, since I'm a little further removed from it than he is, that I explained that correctly.
Yes, that is correct.
Trustee Bills, did you have follow-up?
Well, I just want to make everybody clear that they're recommending that we approve C. C would give us another chance to vote on it.
My motion was A, as presented.
And
Right. I talked to Rodney yesterday, or today, I can't remember. And Rodney had some new light to shed on this issue, so I don't know if Rodney, if we should be addressing that yet, or you have more information to follow up on, you said.
I can share a couple things. First of all, the application that's before you is the same application the Planning Commission saw, the same application that went through the public hearing, and it does have a site plan attached as part of your agenda packet that shows the proposed closure of Packard Road. So without the two conditions, you would be approving that special use permit that includes that proposed closure, which is no longer Mr. Malley's intention at the moment. So certainly, as Mark said, the recommendation of staff would be to concur with the Plan Commission's action. Item C, yes. With regards to the Packard Road itself, we are currently still in the information gathering stage. We're looking into the history of this road. We're looking into learning more about exactly what is there. There was some suggestion that there was no road right of way at all at this location. The information is still preliminary, but I did have a conversation with the surveyor just earlier this week. As he had done some title search work and shared it with me, and I noted that in the legal descriptions for Mr. Malley's existing business parcel, which is on the west side of Packard, that it does reference a road right of way on Packard Road. In this case, a half right of way. Essentially, his land extends to the center of the road, but there's a 33-foot half right of way for Packard that's written into his legal description. And also in that title search was a survey done about 8 or 9 years ago that also showed that right of way. So there is a right of way there, at least half of one. Like I said, that we're still gathering information and getting a full picture of how the road came to be developed and exactly what right of way is there, public or private. And we'll be working with Mr. Malley and the other property owners in the area to look at solutions long term. This is an industrial area. It's underdeveloped. It's one of the few remaining industrial areas in the township. In order for it to be attractive for development of an industrial or office or research character, there really do need to be Class A public roads in this area, roads that can handle year-round truck traffic and have proper drainage and all those elements. So it's really not just Packard that we need to look at, but even Airport Road, which is a public road, is in poor condition and has very poor drainage. So we're looking at possibilities for the overall area and see what could be done. That's as Mark said, that's an issue for another day. By pursuing item C and among the choices there, essentially takes the road closure off the table for now, as Mr. Malley has agreed, and allows the special use and ultimately the site plan to move forward without that issue.
Clerk Cody.
The planning commission did have a lot of discussion on this. It wasn't something that would make it, with that road closure being on the special use, you know, we go through our key points and not knowing if it was a public or private, or if there was easements or whatnot, we thought it best just to take it off. So that's, you know, that, but you know, there is another condition on there too that we also have to think about, not just as presented. You know, the final site plan is approved for the proposed special use development. So there's two conditions that we had, not just the one. So I can't agree to the A because, I mean, being on the planning commission, we had a really long, lengthy discussion on this, and we felt with the conditions were the best to present to the board.
Thank you. Trustee Therian?
Yes, while I am absolutely in support of approving the special use permit, I am not in support of approving it with A as to approve as presented. I like Lisa pretty much was saying what I was thinking, that the planning commission has put in a lot of time and consideration, a little bit more so in depth than we are, although we have all the information in front of us. So I would be more likely to consider C. That's how I feel. Thank you.
Treasurer Rice?
I just want to piggyback off of that as well. Yeah, I would be more apt to vote for yes for C, and I know the motion is for A. You know, so I just typically, you know, with things like this, I mean, the planning commission has put many hours into studying this and that, and so I usually try to back up who we put into position to, you know, look at these and that, and so I personally would prefer to see C, but I know that you know, A is on the table, so that's just my opinion.
All right. I'm going to vote no on item A. I would be very supportive of C. I did watch the planning commission meeting. And that was really helpful. And I thought the discussion was it was a strong discussion. I appreciated Mr. Malley's discussions as well during that meeting. But the planning commission was very intentional about those requirements. One being the taking the road closure off the site plan, but second, purposely tying the SUP to be contingent on approval of the final site plan. And, you know, I sat on planning commission long enough to know that there's a reason they did that. And so I have to vote no on A, but I certainly would support a motion of C. But do we have any other comments? Trustee Hauk?
Yes, I'll withdraw my motion and change it to C. Do I have to read it all, or we already know it?
Is it withdraw or amend?
I can't amend it, but we have to withdraw it and then redo it. Because
I'm okay with however you'd like to do it.
I was gonna say, I think you can amend, can't you?
If you're the amend, if you're the one who made the
You're
original
the one who
motion.
made the motion, so you can amend it if you want to amend it.
If the person seconded it, read also.
Correct.
okay, I'll amend it to concur with the planning commission's recommendation and approve the special use permit subject to the following conditions. The planning commission acknowledges that Mr. Malley will remove the proposed closure of Packard Road from the site for the contractor yard development. And 2, a final site plan is approved for the proposed special use PSUP 20-02 development.
I will second that.
So you're
And that's-
accepting the amendment.
I accept the amendment.
You were the original person that,
Yeah,
He originally
Yeah.
seconded it.
thank you. All right, with that, Connie, I see your hand still up. Is that just from before, or do you have a comment?
It's from before. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion has been amended, and just for clarification, removing the language at the end to approve the special use permit as presented to concur with the planning commission's recommendations, correct?
yes.
Yes.
And I believe you said Packard Road, but I believe it's Packard Street,
It is.
just to be clear. Further discussion on the motion to concur with the planning commission's recommendation on SU, what is it? Bear with me, sorry. PSUP 20-02. Seeing no more hands, Clerk Cody?
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Treasurer Rice,
Yes,
Clerk Cody, yes, Trustee Hope,
Yes.
Trustee Thering,
Yes.
Trustee Bills,
Yes.
and Trustee Brown.
Yes,
Oh, yes.
Thank you very much, Clerk. With that, that moves us to new business item 10C. I'm sorry, 10D. Consumers Energy Resolution, lights on Broomfield and Isabella. Manager, would you like to introduce this one?
Yes, thank you. The paperwork on this starts on page 53 of your agenda packet. This is one of the intersections that's seeing some upgrades and improvements in partnership with the Road Commission and some other funding partners. As they've done that work, there was a street light hanging from the middle of above the middle of the intersection. That needed to be removed to accommodate the other improvements at the intersection. So but we felt we still needed or should have a light at the intersection for safety reasons. So that is, we're moving the light to the northwest corner of the intersection. So it'll be hanging off a pole at the corner as opposed to in the middle of the intersection up top. It'll be an LED light. And because of that, consumers' energy requires resolutions to be so that they're on solid footing about how they're moving streetlights around. So there's 2 resolutions in this agenda packet. One is to remove the existing light, and the other is to install the new light. So we're not losing any lighting, just being relocated. Type of light's a little different, LED versus the other. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution allowing Consumers Energy to remove a street light at the intersection of Isabella and Broomfield, and approve a similar resolution to allow consumers to add a street light at the same intersection.
Or
I'm sorry, who gave support?
Cody.
Thank you. Motion by Bills, support by Cody. Any discussion on this item?
I don't know that it matters, but in the writing on the information packet, I just noticed Isabella, the A is left off.
I usually do that.
So,
I
just,
saw that.
no,
I saw it too, and I was like,
sorry. I just noticed it and I'm like, oh yeah. So
I mean, the motion was made saying the word Isabella, so.
I know. I just didn't know if it needed to be changed for future reference, but
Do we have
I'll
an
go ahead and use it.
anticipated schedule on the improvements that are being done there? I probably should know this already, but in relation to also when this might happen?
I don't know what the schedule is for any of the intersections other than I think they're trying to get them done all this year. They've started them.
Right. Okay. I mean, because they're going to have to take this out ultimately because of some of those improvements. My hope was that the replacement would be at essentially that same time too, right?
It will be, yes, yes.
Okay.
This is being done. The Road Commission and Consumers Energy are working together on a couple facets of the project. This came up and I've had communication with the Road Commission and Consumers Energy, and for all I know, they may have already made the change, waiting for this resolution to be made or to be approved.
Very good. Thank you. I just want to make sure we weren't without a light for a year.
Well, it looked to me like there was a pole up. I went by there 2 or 3 times this week and looked like there was a pole up. So must just need a light.
It'll actually probably go quite well with, it's just on the opposite corner of the gas station that's going to be placed. So that kind of, I was actually quickly looking to see where it was located. So that's a win-win.
Yeah, I had the exact same thoughts, James. I'm like, oh, we're gonna have light across the street. The whole corner is gonna be more lit.
Right.
Yep.
That's important too.
Yes.
The dark corner.
All right, any further discussion on the motion to, actually, it's motion to approve the resolution for Consumers Energy to remove a street light and replace it. I'm summarizing.
Yeah.
Seeing no other hands, Clerk Cody, would you do us the honors, please?
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
trustee Bills,
Yes.
trustee Thering,
Yes.
trustee Hauk,
Yes.
supervisor Milky,
Yes.
treasurer Rice,
Yes.
and clerk Cody, yes.
All right. With that, that takes us to item 10E on our agenda. With the appointment of Mr. Rodney Nanny to the Airport Joint Operations Board. Do you have something you'd like to say on this, Manager?
Just that the board approved the agreement at your December 16th, 2020 meeting. And I apologize because I could have had this as part of that action. It escaped me at the time. So this is to appoint a senior administrator to that board. And I'm recommending Mr. Nanny as the Community and Economic Development Director. I think it just fits.
I'll make a motion to appoint Rodney Nanny, the Community and Economic Development Director, to the Airport Joint Operations Board.
Support.
Support.
I heard
Everybody's supporting.
motion by Hauk and support by Rice first. Is that okay?
You bet.
That works.
All right. We have motion on the floor for the appointment. Discussion?
Congratulations.
It is,
Absolutely.
it is congratulations, right? Not condolences? Just making
Rodney,
sure.
let me know when big jets are coming in because they fly right over my shop.
There you go.
Just blink twice if you're being pressured too much on this one.
I'm certainly happy to be able to serve.
I figured by your smile.
Jeff Brown, you know that feeling when those big jets come over, you see them at your shop too.
Oh, I sure do.
They rumble the buildings.
Any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, Clerk Cody?
Clerk Cody, yes. Trustee Hauk,
Yes.
trustee Thering,
Yes.
trustee Brown,
Yes.
supervisor Milky,
Yes.
treasurer Rice,
Yes.
trustee Bills,
Yes.
all yes.
All right, that takes us to new business item 10F, treatment of consumers, part of policy governance review. And with that, I'll hand that over to the manager.
Thank you. And this paperwork begins on page 68 of your agenda packet. This is an opportunity for the board to evaluate the administration's compliance with governance policy number 2.1, treatment of consumers. The policy itself is not real long, so I'll just read it. With respect to interaction with consumers or those applying to be consumers, the township management team shall not cause or allow conditions, procedures, or decisions that are unsafe, undignified, unclear, unprofessional, indirect, untimely, inaccurate, or unnecessarily intrusive. There are some other limitations as part of that policy. The management team shall not use application forms that elicit information that's for which there's not a clear necessity, that we don't use methods of collecting, reviewing, and transmitting information that fails to properly protect the material itself, access, privacy where it's appropriate, such as masking, social security numbers, that type of thing. I interpret that policy such that the Board of Trustees wants to ensure that we're not being overly intrusive, that we're only requesting information that's necessary so that we can appropriately administer the services that we're providing, that the customers have a clear understanding of what those services are. There are mechanisms for consumers to get a better understanding if they are unsure, and that we maintain regular office hours so that the citizens and the customers can have access to the administration. I have some data points in the memo. We do routinely review our applications, make sure they're still relevant and accurate. In 2020, we had a lot of applications updated as a result of the new zoning ordinance. So we've taken care of that. We post our service delivery options, applications, and ordinances are posted on the website, so consumers can access them that way. We do routinely mask out social security numbers because some of this application material ends up being subject to FOIA. We do direct outreach to consumers, citizens. When appropriate, we did that with the adoption of the new zoning ordinance, with the rental housing ordinance. Even after those ordinances were adopted, we made the specific efforts to contact large owners of rental units, apartment complexes. We reached out to the developers and builders with the adoption of the new land use or zoning ordinance. We did have to restrict some office hours earlier this year due to the pandemic to ensure the safety of both staff and citizens. There were a couple occasions during the past year where we had some issues that required boil water advisories be put in place. In at least one of those cases, we went door to door and left information at the specific impacted properties. In all cases, we followed the notification requirements of the state law, issued press releases, that sort of thing. And then as we began implementation of the cross connection program, we've done some direct outreach, a mass mailing to all the appropriate or impacted utility customers that the program was getting developed, stood up, and so they would know what to expect as the program went forward. So I feel we're in compliance with the policy. Always happy to hear feedback from the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Trustee Bills.
I just have one question, Mark. What's the average turnaround time for a complaint?
I don't know. We don't track time, date received versus time, date resolved. We can resolve a complaint when the phone call comes in. We don't have some communities have a constituent management software where they, track, detail those types of things. We do not. So I don't know the answer to your question. I'm not aware that there are any outstanding complaints that have not been at least addressed to the point where we may not have been able to resolve their issue, but we've gotten back to them and explained what the situation is.
Is there a complaint log?
Not in my office, there's not. There might be at other departments, but so I think the short answer on a township-wide basis, the answer to that would be no.
Well, in medicine, we have to keep a complaint log. We have to document every single complaint and document what we did for it. So I'm asking because I think it kind of shows that we, are responding and then we can have data points for how fast we get things resolved.
Right. And I'm not aware of any complaints. Oftentimes, if a complaint is not responded to timely or the resolution is not satisfactory, it escalates to me and there's none that I'm sitting on.
Any other questions for Mark before we get into this? All right, so this is a performance monitoring tool, right? Monitoring our CEO and the organization. Are they basically implementing our policy? And so I'm going to try a format. If this works best for the board, then we'll stick with that. Otherwise, I'm open to suggestions, but I'm basically going to go through the items that are here and then ask for anybody to stop me if we need to. So was this report submitted when due? Yes or no?
Yes.
Did the report lay out the manager's interpretation of an operational definition of the policy?
Yes.
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 Yes. Is the interpretation justified or is proof provided to explain why the interpretation is reasonable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Was I convinced that the interpretation, convinced that the interpretation was or is justified and reasonable?
Yes.
Yes.
Did the interpretation address all aspects of the policy?
Yes.
So does the data show compliance with the manager's interpretation of our policy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Is there any area regarding this policy that you worry about that is not clearly addressed in existing policy?
Yes.
Trustee Bills?
Yes, I think we should have a complaint log that is probably something that's public, really, honestly.
I like that.
You mean public in the respect of maybe it's brought up at our meetings, public?
No, that would be available through FOIA or whatever, but I don't know. I just think that there should be a log there. How else can you track what, when I hear from consumers or, well, what I would call a consumer, the taxpayer, I've heard some people say they never got anywhere already. And I mean, I've just been a trustee for a couple of months and I don't know the answers.
Right. Trustee Therian?
I mean, I would be definitely in favor of some sort of log. Public wise, maybe there are people that call in that don't necessarily want their complaint known to everyone. Maybe it's, listening to Mark, I don't know how many times that would happen, but maybe it's worth to give it a shot for a month or two. And if we see it, we have a need, then continue on. And if we don't, I guess we as a group can decide. I want to be careful that not everybody wants things public. They have their issue, they make their phone call, but to have it logged, that way, if it progresses to Mark does have something written down on paper that shows a little bit of a story that may help him proceed further.
I agree. It probably should be kept within the township.
Treasurer Rice?
That James said it very well. I was gonna say I'm in favor of a complaint log. What I'm not in favor of is the public aspect because there's people that don't want that. So he said it well.
Did I see you raise your hand, clerk?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
But you're good now?
Keeping it, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I guess I would have the same concerns, and it seems like if we keep the data, it seems like it's foilable. But I don't know that. Maybe one way to look at this is, we're gonna have a overall policy review of our governance policy coming up, and think about how we might expand the language to help that type of monitoring. And I don't know what that would be, but I'm spitballing here a little bit. Yes, Clerk Cody.
You can do an online complaint form. That way you got something to complain on.
I like it.
Trustee Therian?
I'd like to leave this in Mark's hands. I mean, he's more than capable of deciding how this should roll forward and maybe to tell us that it shouldn't or it should. It's really not for you and I unless it gets to a certain level, which Mark would have, of course, addressed us on. So I I definitely think it's good for discussion, and I guess I would be curious to hear Mark's thoughts maybe at a future meeting when it's appropriate.
I think that's well said. You know, and again, I think the details of how our manager implements our policy should be left up to him. So I guess the only issue I had with this is somewhat related, and it was in the data section. And I guess I wanted to ask our manager, is on page 68. So citizen complaints are taken seriously by the township manager, and when they occur, the manager seeks to obtain information from all parties before promptly responding to the complainant. I know in my situation, when that kind of stuff happens, sometimes it takes a while to collect that additional information. So I'm assuming that you often acknowledge the receipt. So they at
Yeah.
least know. Go ahead.
And so I want to, I guess a couple things as I try to better understand what I'm hearing. One, any document that we're maintaining is subject to the Freedom of Information Act. So any log that we have is going to be subject to that. That's by rule. So it will be, it's foiable. The complaint log, you begin to have to think about what is a complaint? You know, what constitutes a complaint? And then you have to log it, and you know, there's complaints that might have to do with an ordinance violation, and then we go about the business of enforcing the ordinance, and that might be considered a complaint, and it might also be considered information sharing because we're not aware of, you know, everything going out in the field. If we're to be keeping a log, then we might need to be considering that the complaint be filed on a form, because everybody is going to want to be able to substantiate things. So, you know, if somebody wants to call in with a complaint and I can resolve it on the phone, I mean, that's the end of that. If I need to keep a log on it, then I might need to tell that phone caller to fill out a form to file their complaint. So I have record that the complaint exists that's gone on to the form, to the complaint log. And then I also begin, and I want to make sure that, because it, you know, this is all about resources as well. We provide a lot of service. There's 13,000 citizens out there or something. If there's an issue or a problem, I certainly want to know about it so we can resolve it. At the same time, I don't want to create solutions to problems that don't necessarily exist. So thank you.
I think Brian's right. You know, we're gonna review the governance policy. Maybe we can make some of those changes then. We could highlight this and make sure that we have discussion on it.
You know, and I think, I'm sorry, Bill, were you done?
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to think in the broader sense too, and to me, it speaks to customer service.
Right.
And something we should always continue to strive for. Maybe there is policy that we can set that pushes that as a, stronger emphasis. And anyways, I appreciate the dialogue. Are there other areas regarding this policy that you worry about?
I just want to make sure there's nothing, that I have not left anything out. I mentioned ordinance enforcement, ordinance violation complaints, and I think I articulated that, but I just want to give, because Rodney is really overseeing a lot of the ordinance enforcement administration. So Rodney, do you have anything to add to what I said?
Just kind of build on that just slightly. The whole purpose of ordinance enforcement is to bring a property back into compliance. It's not to fine them. It's not to take them to court. It's not to beat them over the head. It's to try to get the problem corrected. It's been my experience that the large majority of people who want to complain are a neighbor or a friend or even somebody in the same home. And they do not want their name used. They do not want it on the record because of the potential for trouble if the person they're complaining about finds out that they said something. All they want it done is to have the problem fixed, so that the property's back in compliance just like everybody else is in that area. So the ability for somebody to make a phone call and say, "Listen, this doesn't seem right. Can you look into it?" without having to formally provide their name and address and phone number and all those details, and have a public record of that, I think is definitely important to our success. And it has been important to our success over the last year that I've been involved in it here, in resolving ordinance issues. As Mark said, many complaints are resolved on the phone. It's just information. There's something they don't know. And when they find out what the rule is or what the issue is, often they end the phone conversation satisfied. We also have cases where somebody in terms of ordinance violations, where somebody will call and say, this doesn't seem right. This is what's going on. And it turns out there is absolutely no violation. It may not be something they like. It may not even be something that's good. I think of as an example, during the height of the COVID business, when we were shut down, we were still monitoring our phone calls remotely, picking up our voicemail and responding remotely, even though the office was entirely closed. And one of the calls that came in during that period was about a neighbor that left their garbage cans out at the street all the time. And there is no ordinance that addresses that. That is really an issue between that property owner and the contractor that picks up their garbage. All we could do was say there's not an ordinance. However, we did contact the owner of that property and just let them know. I said, "Listen, your garbage cans are out. We're getting calls," and we always put it in that format, calls. We don't just say a call. Just say we get calls, we get complaints. Can you take care of it? In this particular case, we also let them know it wasn't an ordinance issue. I made that clear. And in this particular case, the owner did not want to take care of it. They liked the convenience of having the can down at the street. And so at that point, we just had to let the neighbor know that there was nothing the township could do to resolve that particular issue. And it does happen sometimes that way. So sometimes people do not get a resolution they want, but nonetheless, we have resolved it as best we can within the scope of our authority to do so.
James, I see your hands up. It's not something new, is it?
No. You talking to me? I'm sorry,
Yep.
Brian. No, I'm clear. I'm good. Thank you.
All right. So I think we kind of talked about this already. The next section was what policy language would you like to see incorporated to address your concern? And it sounds like we can put some thought into that and have that discussion at a later time. Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay. So unless there's other issues, I'm going to move on to looking for hands.
Item G.
Item G, thank you. 2.5 of the policy governance, financial condition and activities. And I'd be happy to hand this over to Mark. I don't know.
Thank you.
You're introducing this or?
Yes,
Thank
I will. This is a quarterly evaluation. The last one was annual. And so policy 2.5 titled Financial Condition and Activities indicates that with respect to actual ongoing financial conditions, the township management team shall not cause or allow the development of fiscal jeopardy or a material deviation of actual expenditures from board priorities established in your ends policies. There are 10 or so sub policies or further a further narrowing of what our authorities are. For instance, we're not allowed to use any long-term reserves except for amounts specifically released by the board. Another sub policy is that we're not allowed to fail to make payroll timely. I'm not going to go through all 10 of them. They're there for you to read. I interpret this overall policy to mean that no expenditures will be incurred that will exceed what's been budgeted for the current fiscal year unless it's of an emergency nature. And those restrictions are outlined in policy 2.5.6. The manager shall not make a single purchase greater than $10,000 unless it falls under that emergency authorization. All tax payments to other governmental units are to be made timely in accordance with state statute. Payrolls to be paid when due, and all the other payments, tax payments associated with that are to be paid per the rules that we process timely accounts payable. The board approves those payments before those checks are made. So that's what I imagine and interpret this policy to be trying to accomplish. I think it's a reasonable justification. The budget's approved by the Board of Trustees. We're to administratively operate within the guidelines established by that budget. And then also if there are other statutes that we're to follow, IRS related, whatnot. We've attached a report that's as of year end that reflects the 2020 amended budget, the year-to-date balances. Although the audit has not yet begun, we're confident that there'll be a positive variance year-end actual results versus the budget. We did not incur any new debts in the fourth quarter of 2020. We amended the budget in November to make sure we're staying within the budgetary confines. All payroll taxes have been paid timely. There were no purchases greater than $10,000, except for an emergency, and I've communicated those in emails to you when those have occurred. So I think we're in compliance with the policy. Again, happy to answer any discussions you may have in your comment. Thank you.
All right, with that, are you okay? Maybe I'll try to simplify this. Page 88 is our review form for question number 1. when was it timely?
Yes,
Yes.
Number 2,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
number 3,
Yes.
Yes.
agreed. Number 4,
Yes.
yes,
number 5,
yes,
Yes.
and last numbered item, number 6.
Yes.
yes.
That sounds like all affirmative. I didn't hear any pushback. Any area regarding this policy that you worry about that's not clearly addressed in existing policy?
No,
No.
No.
And then so I'm assuming that since there's no concerns with that currently, there's no need for policy language change either then? Is that accurate?
correct.
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 I do have a general question, if I may, Mark. It's somewhat related to this. In the policy regarding purchases, your authority to make them or not make them based on certain criteria. Some of our fund balances, like the EDA funds, are really controlled by that authority. And so, and that's included in this financial report, but you really don't have any authority in that fund really, correct? Other than to administer it? Is that accurate?
I'd say it's a little bit more than what you've just described. For instance, the budget for the East and West DDA needs to be approved by the Board of Trustees. There are fund balance policies in this document, the governance policy document, I believe, that apply to the East and West DDA in terms of at least having sufficient cash flow. Although not written, it's on a list that's existed for a while. We do follow, as a matter of practice, the policies of the Board of Trustees. For instance, we get bids for vendor services. The EDA doesn't have a purchasing policy, and actually there's a Board of Trustees. But we do apply the standards that the Board of Trustees has for themselves to that body as a matter of practice.
And that's how I always viewed it too, but it wasn't until I went through this and I saw the EDA information in there that I thought, well, really they are an authority. So they have authority if they wanted to spend it all on something and that's what they chose, they would have the right to do that. Correct?
They
In which
would.
case, I wouldn't want to be judging you on what I might consider the EDA's lack of judgment. I mean, if that were to happen.
Right. And right. I appreciate that. And I think that's kind of dealt with at the front end. For instance, if the EDA was wanting to budget monies for something that clearly ran counter to your ends, the board would have an opportunity to address that when they're approving EDA's budget.
Okay, right. Yep. Thank you.
And if the board went ahead and approved it anyways after discussion and it made sense and all that, then I wouldn't be getting in the way of it. But the funds the EDA has are still public funds. They're and the designation of public funds is not a term of art. It's addressed in state statute. That budget still has to be approved.
Right. Yeah. And that explanation actually helps me quite a bit. So I appreciate that.
Okay.
All right. Are we good on that?
Yes, sir.
All right, moving new business item H. Board of Trustees Annual Review of Board Governance Policy 3.1, Governing Style. And this one is a little bit more reflective on us rather than the organization itself.
Yes, and this is the annual review of policy 3.1 governing style. It's an opportunity for the board to reflect on whether or not you as a body have been following your policy. At the highest level, the policy states that the board will govern with an emphasis on an outward vision rather than being preoccupied with internal operations, that the board is encouraging diversity of viewpoints, that the board is emphasizing your role as a strategic leader versus getting involved in administrative detail, that the board is cognizant of and operating with the clear, understanding that there's clear distinction between the board's role and the chief executive's role, that the board acts as a collective rather than individual decisions, that you're proactive rather than reactive. That's the high level policy statement. There's a lot of detail under that I won't read. So there's more discussion for the board. Thank you.
All right, so on page 91 of your packet, there's 4 questions to our board. Indicate items you believe the board is in strict compliance with the policy as stated. Trustee Therian?
I'm just not sure about that. This is only meeting 4. I have reservations, but maybe they're not warranted. When it comes to getting information, I feel like I get information in a timely manner. When asked, I was missing some information on certain things by no fault of anybody. I think it's just me being new more so than it is the policy. I wish this would come up in about another 2 months. Maybe it will, maybe it does, but today I struggle. I'm struggling with it because I'm really looking forward to that proactive rather than reactive, and the outward vision. I'm ready to, get in the helicopter and go for a ride and just I feel like I'm grounded right now. So do I think we've done anything wrong? I do not, but I'm struggling to answer these questions.
So if I can piggyback on that, I don't see other hands right now. I had similar thoughts written down, and but again, I didn't think of it as just being a new supervisor here, right? I thought of it as a new board. I mean, we're all getting our feet wet, and we haven't had that chance for the 7 of us to sit down and do some of that brainstorming to look at what policy and vision we have for the township. And I tried to speak to that in the last meeting, if you heard me, and I actually it didn't mean to come from policy, but I used the words being proactive rather than reactive. And so I look forward to that too. So I don't think it's just you, James. I think it's a matter of 7 new people becoming one, right? That we can forge that vision together. And so I look forward to that as well. Treasurer Rice?
I had very similar, but excuse me, sorry. But I also want to say, as a board, you know, I think we're doing very well together. You know, we are working together. We want each other's opinions. We like to hear each other's opinions. And even though we haven't actually sat down and, you know, put all of these things to paper, at every meeting, someone is bringing up something like, I wish we had this. I wish we could do this. And so, I mean, we're looking toward the future already, whether we know it or not. And so, you know, I think we're doing more of this than what people realize. And you know, we find ourselves saying, oh, you know, and when we try to look internally, and then we're like, wait, no, that's not our position. That's for someone else to take care of. You know, we make our opinions known, and then we sit back. So, I mean, we're doing a lot more of this than I think a lot of people realize. And so I had put down that, yes, I think we're doing very well with this. I would like us to keep moving forward on this, and that kind of thing. But considering it's so early in our term, as a board, I think we're doing very well.
Just something to add, James?
Yeah, I was just wondering, is there a, and I'm assuming that there is based on what you were saying, is there like a time of the year where we do a work session to start bouncing those ideas around? Is there kind of like a schedule of how things happen? And if there is, I mean, just anything so that us as new members can, have things to look forward to in the sense of to be prepared, I guess.
Yeah, I think, don't hold me to this, it's because I just don't have it in front of me, but it's in the back of your binder, the schedule for this and the policy governance. There is a schedule. Typically, we do that review during, I think it's April, maybe it's May. And it's prior to really kicking off the budget process, because you want our ends, goals, ends, I hate to use those together, to help drive that budget process. But that's a formal review in many ways of the governance policy in general. Sometimes it's nice to have just very informal brainstorming too, where it's outside of policy governance, and we get to look to the future maybe in a different way. And I really like the comments that you had, Treasurer Rice, that we're doing some of that without realizing it. And maybe that's because it's informal. It's a part of just doing our job here. So I don't know if I answered your question, James.
No, we're good. I mean, as long as we got stuff that, I mean, obviously I know we're going to get there, but I want to be there already.
Yeah, and what I was trying to speak to in the last meeting was maybe getting some separate work sessions where our focus is that the future, right?
That would be awesome for, like you said, the word focus. So we've got something to really focus on.
Right. Trustee
All
House?
right, let's get back on track, guys.
Yeah, James, just one quick thing that maybe we could do. We did this back, I've got this here, back from July of 2019. We got together and discussed our ends and just said, for instance, like community well-being and common good. You know, here Kim Rice had down better code enforcement. That'll give you, there's all kinds of other questions on this, but I hope we do that again, because that will give us where, James, you said you want to feel more involved. Well, if you have something that you have a suggestion on, like, I'd like to see our park system be improved. Well, if we go on something like that, have a work session on that, then you can, mention things like that, and that can be one of our goals. And that's what this was. It was goals and objectives for the ends, and that was like in July of 2019. Some of them we accomplished, obviously some of them we haven't.
Well, good. Are we good? We can go to the next one.
Yep.
Thank you, Bill. So
Number two,
which I think you spoke to a little bit, James, as far as Not being sure, but are we in strict compliance? If not, what do you notice that gives evidence? Do you want to, I'm looking at you, James, just, do you want to add to that?
No, I think I'm satisfied. I guess listening to you speak, then I guess I would say I'm satisfied that we are in compliance at this point.
Yeah, and I think Treasurer Rice's comments helped me quite a bit with
Yes, it did.
that. Anybody else need to stay on that one? Not seem, request to stop. How do you think we can improve the process to be in full compliance? I think that's along the same discussion we were having. Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
What does the board need to learn or discuss in order to live by the policies more completely? I'm going to add one comment here. Not seeing hands. The boundaries between the organization and the board and the ownership being our residents and businesses, are always a little blurry. And we just always have to be conscious of that. And so to live by these policies more completely, I think we just have to continually remind ourselves of those boundaries. Are we going to cross them once in a while? Yeah, but we need to check ourselves when we do that. And because it's our nature as human beings for that to happen. So just a self reminder and a self check of each other too on that. That's all I had on that. Anybody else have anything else on 3.1?
I could help a little bit in terms of the timing.
Sure.
And this is just a little bit of historically what we've done. In March, the administration is required to report out compliance with your ends. In other words, what have we done to further the ends that are in the policy? We do that in March. That's kind of a look back. That begins to set the stage for meetings that I normally initiate or in discussion with the board. So we do this look back, and then we want to look at the ends pretty shortly after that is currently written to see if those need to be adjusted at all. And that gets to, I think, the supervisors. Those have usually been held in separate work sessions. Sometimes they've been facilitated by consultants. Other times I've facilitated them. But it's an opportunity then, and by then you're probably into April. Updating your ends, confirming them, making some changes. And then that allows the administration to develop a budget that applies financial resources towards trying to do things that help further those ends. So it'll kick off in March by letting you know how we've performed against your current ends anyways. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we moved what was 8A to this portion of our agenda. And so 8A is the current list of boards and commissions appointments as needed. We have quite a few appointments. I'm just going to highlight a couple of these real quick as reminders. I'm glad to see we have some applications. We still need to fill sidewalk and pathways seat. We have Mr. Sweet has applied for the EDA. I did have a conversation with him this week, and we've had feedback from the two other members whose terms on the EDA are ending, indicate that they'll be reapplying even though we've not seen those applications yet. So I hope that comes to pass. That's Rick Bars and Mike Smith. We do still have a ZBA spot that we need to fill. And probably most important timing wise is going to be the board of review. I want to lift that up again because we have the board review process kicking off here in March. And training would be ideal to have done before that. And training happens until I believe I think February 26th. I don't have the calendar in front of me. That last week of February is, I think, the last training the MTA puts on. And it is required training, and it'd be really, really helpful to get that board seat filled so the new person can get in that training regiment prior to serving the public. So with that, for the EDA, we do have an application from Mr. Jeff Sweet. I'm trying to get this in my packet. I'm assuming our board has all had a chance to look through these. Be happy to entertain a motion if there's a desire.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jeff Sweet to the EDA board with a term ending 2/15/2023/24/25. Would it be now?
Yeah,
No, 24.
4-year term, I thought.
4 years? They're 3-year terms. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. You're right. 4-year terms.
Did you say 215 or 213?
It's 2/13, I'm sorry. 2/13/24. 25.
25.
These all are so weird.
All right, just for clarification, just so, because I heard support, but I think from Trustee Bills,
25.
Jeff Sweet appointed for February 13th, 2025, and that is that what you're supporting, Trustee Bills?
Yeah, yes, it is.
With that, any discussion? I'll just say I had a nice conversation with Jeff earlier this week. And I'm excited that he's willing to sit on the EDA and serve. So I look forward to working with him if you approve him to this appointment. So no other hands? Clerk Cody?
Trustee Thering,
Yes.
trustee Help,
Yes.
trustee Brown,
Yes.
trustee Bills,
Yes,
treasurer Rice,
Yes.
supervisor Milky,
Yes.
clerk Cody, yes.
Okay, next on our agenda, bear with me. We have application for planning commission from an existing member, asking to continue on from Mr. Stan Shingle. And with that, I'd like to make a motion to nominate Stan Shingles to the planning commission, reappoint him to the planning commission. And that will end, the term would end February 15th, 2024.
Support.
We have a motion on the floor to appoint Stan Shingles. Did you have a comment, Treasurer Rice?
Oh, Brown supported. I don't know if you heard that.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Support by Brown. Yes.
Okay, if we're having discussion, we talked that we want to have a varied life experiences, just say, on these boards. We want to have a wide range of people on these boards. Okay, on the planning commission now, I'd like to know how many of those people are employed by CMU? That I can see, there's at least 3 or 4. I'm not sure what Jessica Lapp does, but we've had, 4 members from CMU on that board. And how is that? I just don't see how that's letting in a wide range of other opinions. I mean, I'm not saying that the people at CMU are going to back we don't have anything basically that we would build on CMU property, but I'm not comfortable with all these people on this board being from CMU. I mean, we have nobody from agriculture. We have one businessman. That businessman also is a developer. So there's no business people on it other than Doug LaBelle, who represents development and business. I mean, business is what makes this community run. I mean, I just can't take all these people from CMU on these boards. Nothing against them, but we have so many of them on this particular board.
Yeah, there are three that I know of, and I believe one of them is retiring soon.
Out of how many?
Nine
Nine.
seats.
So basically, if we're gonna put, and then the other lady that we want to approve tonight, she's basically CMU, other than she hasn't worked there in the last 8 months. I don't know her, I have nothing against her, but here we go again. Now we've got nobody from agriculture. I mean, I'd like to have some time to discuss things with a couple of people. There's a farmer just down the road from you, Brian. Bill Whitehead. 3 years ago, I brought Bill Whitehead's name up, and nope, we put someone else on from CMU. So I just don't get it.
Well, I'm not surprised that a third of the makeup is CMU, considering just the population of CMU, both from, the number of people that work there, they're the number one employer. So I guess I'm not surprised. We do need that. I would like to ultimately see agriculture on this. Stan's in a position where he's a reappointment, and if you
Nothing against Stan, but we don't have to reappoint him.
that's true.
Right.
Trustee Bills.
I want to agree with Bill. I think that diversity in experience would be good for the planning commission. Although I favor Tara because she's a woman.
Well, the motion was for Stan.
Oh, I'm sorry. I agree with Bill.
We have a second, don't we? Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
I'd like to say one thing.
Sure.
As we go through these applications and when I look at these people, I look for qualifications. I'm not looking for an employment or who they're employed by or where they're employed, or like whether Alex Fuller is with Malley or with McGurk or what have you. I'm really looking for qualifications when I go through these applications, and I do very thoroughly. It's what I do in my job also. So I'm looking at qualifications, what will hold, and the qualifications that are best for our residents in this community. I didn't even know where a lot of these people worked or what the percentages was from CMU to the agriculture committee to business owners. And Bill, you're right. I mean, I think we need diversity on the board. But also we have to look at qualifications. And I just wanted to put that out there, that qualifications do mean something on these boards. We just can't throw someone on there that is not qualified. And I know you're not saying that, Bill, or Trustee Bills. I know you're not saying that, but this is just my perspective. When I look into this, I'm truly looking at qualifications that these people have for what board they're applying for. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Trustee Thering.
Yes, sir. I mean, we're at this point, I believe, talking about Mr. Shingles, and Stan definitely has the experience and with all that he's been involved with the planning commission for the number of years he has. So his ability to be effective and productive is there.
Any other discussion? Cody?
Trustee Bills,
Yes.
Treasurer Rice,
Yes.
Trustee,
Who was that? I didn't hear.
Hauk.
Yes.
Sorry, did I? Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Thering,
Yes.
and Clerk Cody, yes.
All right, thank you. We have another application from Tara Albrecht. With that, I'll make a motion to appoint Tara Albrecht to the Planning Commission with term expiring February 15th, 2024.
Support.
I thought I heard Treasurer Rice. Discussion?
I did get a text today from a lady in agriculture. That's all I'm gonna say.
Share with me later. Yes, I'm sorry, Treasurer Rice.
That's all right. I actually know Tara very well. I have worked with her. She has always come very prepared. I worked with her out at Doozy's, and that. So, you know, she does her homework, which is something you really need when you're talking about the Planning Commission here. You know, she asks questions when she doesn't know something to make sure that she fully understands something before she makes any decision on something. And she is a very personable person. And I can't say enough good things about her, having worked with her. I think she would do a great job.
Looking for other hands if there is any. Seeing none, Clerk Cody?
Treasurer Rice,
Yes.
Trustee Bills,
Yes.
Trustee Hauk,
No, nothing against her, but no.
Trustee Thering,
No.
did I say Supervisor Milky yet?
Didn't, but yes.
Supervisor Milky. Clerk Cody, I'm gonna say no, just because we need someone from agriculture. And then Trustee Brown,
Yes.
4-3. 4 yes, 3 no.
All right, thank you. We have fun now. Section 3.10.3 in our policy governance talks about board appointments as essentially liaisons. I mean, it's also a pay policy too, regarding meeting attendance, but it is our own policy saying that we'll have people attend various meetings such as county meetings and report back. Lisa has been appointed as their liaison to the Planning Commission. That's per statute. Treasurer Rice has been already appointed to the Sidewalks and Pathways, which is part of that same policy. And I've got my notes, so bear with me. I'm appointed to the EDA by statute as supervisor, also Board of Review as a secretary, non-voting member as supervisor. But our policy essentially dictates that we'll do other appointments. And that includes Road Commission, the Saginaw. I'm sorry.
I think it was feedback from
It was
your
feedback.
computer.
Oh, interesting. Saginaw, Chippewa Indian Tribe, the County Commission, the City Commission. And what's not in there, but I think our clerk would appreciate it being brought up tonight, is probably the Election Commission as well. Correct?
Yes.
And there is an intergovernmental committee. Typically that's the manager, the supervisor. And my thoughts on this were that whoever, if we're having an intergovernmental committee meeting with the county, it might be helpful to have our county liaison be involved in that.
That's a good idea.
familiar with it, or if it's with the city, might want to bring in a city liaison at times, depending on what the agendas are. So that was kind of my thought of how that might work. Do you have any feedback on that?
I like it. I think it's a good idea.
Okay, I mean, I don't know, was it done that way in the past or? Okay,
Brian, would you explain that one more time? My
well,
computer
there's
cut out.
there's an intergovernmental committee, which typically the manager and the supervisor sit on, but I thought it would be helpful if there was going to be a intergovernmental meeting, let's say with the county, right? And the agenda was such that it would be helpful to have the county liaison there, because the county liaison's been at those meetings, knows what's going on at the county level. That might be a reasonable voice to have at that meeting. Or if it's a particular one with the city, it might be helpful to have the city liaison be there. Right? I mean,
Very
obviously,
good.
it depends on the agenda, but my hope was that we'd want to invite people in that's their expertise, because that's what they've been most familiar with, right?
Hmm.
But Bill has served on the road commission in the past. And I have talked with Bill. I've tried to talk to each of you about what your likes or dislikes or desires want to be. But Bill has done a great job on the road commission, and he's someone that certainly has my support to stay on there. You still want that, correct? That hasn't
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
No, we don't have to do that. I
Or
don't think we have to make motions, do we?
No, why don't we just make a list and then say them all? Motion with all of them.
That's
Okay.
fine. The Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe, I've had conversations with, I don't know if it's all of you, but some of you. Obviously, it's a very important one to our township. And the previous trustee, Norm Worley, did a great job in that role. Connie and I met with Norm, was it last week?
yes,
Had about an hour and a half conversation, and the purpose of that was hoping that Connie would be wanting to take that role, and it was an ability for her to ask questions of Norm to find out what it entailed, what the schedule was like, that it makes sure that it worked around her professional schedule. And I think we came away with that, you being fairly excited about that.
yeah.
Thank you.
Lisa's got her hand
Thank you.
raised. Brian, Lisa has her hand
Oh,
raised.
I'm sorry, Lisa.
Are the intergovernmental meetings, aren't those all of them together at once?
No, that we're all encouraged to go to. The Council of Governments.
Those are on Wednesdays, the
Yep.
third Wednesday of the month,
Yep, and that we're all encouraged to go to.
when they resume.
So yeah, if you're not aware, thanks for bringing that up, Lisa. As Bill just indicated, what, the third Wednesday you said?
Third Wednesday of the month, they're at the county building in the Board of Trustees, or the Board of Commissioners room.
Yeah, and it used to rotate.
Yeah, they haven't rotated. Last year, they didn't rotate.
Okay, and that really is, it's all 16 townships, the city, the county, I mean, you name it.
Yeah, it's
Anybody that
very
wants to
good.
attend, and our governance policy certainly encourages and supports all members to attend that. That's where you get to network with other townships, and
Mhm.
especially, if we're doing a collaborative with, say, Deerfield Township, it's a good opportunity to introduce something to them. Did that answer your
What
question?
was the one that you said at the beginning? The intergovernmental one, right?
Yeah, intergovernmental committee.
Is the one you're talking about at the beginning of this conversation, right?
Correct.
Okay, and you said from each representative from the party that they came to speak on, or so it was about the city would go, but it's all of them, right? Like the tribe, the city, the county, and Union Township, right?
That can occur and does occur, but there might be an issue where we're having conversations with the city, and it might be helpful to have one of the other trustees sit in on that.
Along with the supervisor, or,
Yeah,
okay, I get it.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it would depend, obviously, I think, on what the agenda is, and but I would think that would be helpful at times. So, if doesn't often happen with the road commission, but like, for example, with the county, if we need to discuss something with the county, it might be helpful to have the county liaison be there, because they understand. That was my thought, at least.
Good.
They understand what's going on at the county level better than probably any of the rest of us, with the exception of maybe our manager. Does that help, Lisa?
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that'll work yet. That was just the thought I had been working on. I did have discussions with both James and Jeff regarding county and city, which are both, again, important liaison seats. And neither seem to have a really strong preference or are willing to, both are willing to serve in whatever capacity the board wanted you to go, right?
Yes.
Speaking. And with that, I mean, and ultimately ended up having the conversation with Jeff that maybe have him look at city and James at county. James already looked into the county stuff, I believe, and he's already been acting a little bit. So these are the conversations I had with each of you. And I didn't seem to get any pushback along the way. So I'm hoping there's no surprises here. There is 2 additional appointments. And I'll maybe let our clerk speak to this briefly. Election Commission. Would you like to explain that?
The election commission, they would, okay, I need 2 representatives other than myself. We would, read over the ballots, make sure there's no misspellings. You'd have to be at the public accuracy testing to make sure all the machines are running properly, and like watch those ballots go through, make sure it's reading with the tape versus, the ballots. They have different samples, things like that. We have to sign off on each precinct needs a certain amount of Republicans, certain amount of Democrats, and normally I would assign them, and then if you agree to it, then you would assign it or sign it off too, but it has to be mutual where everybody agrees. Just things like that. But before every election, we have to do those. I
I'll do
would,
it again.
if
Treasurer Wright?
possible,
I'm sorry.
help to do it because he is a Republican, and I'd like to have.
Mhm.
That sounds
I would agree.
funny.
I would agree. Treasurer
I'll
Rice?
do it again. Okay.
I just had a quick question for Clerk Cody. On that, it says trustees, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to check. So
And Bill, I heard you say you're willing to sit on that?
I'll do it again, yeah.
All right, so that means we need Connie, James, or Jeff. Am I correct, Lisa? To fill that.
Yeah.
spot?
James Staring was written.
James and Connie both had her hand.
Staring raising his
I'd
hand.
arm wrestle you, Connie, but I'm afraid you beat me in front of everybody, so.
Amen.
I know she
It
would
helps
beat
have
you.
access during the day on this too, you guys.
You'll
Oh.
need to have access during the day. I don't know what your schedules are. I try to schedule my things around it, I try to go around your schedule for like us to approve something. But as far as the accuracy testings, there's no way to, I don't make the times.
I will say that where in the past, one of the members of the commission couldn't be there, the clerk or that
Yeah.
Somebody fill in,
may
yeah.
reach out and grab one of the other trustees.
Mhm.
Yep.
Thank
Treasurer
you. I was just gonna say, I know in the past I have gone in place of someone else. And I am more than happy to do that again. So as long as I can. So
I can take any day off I want, so as long as I have.
That might be
Give you a
better,
please, right?
a little bit harder for me. I can take time off, but I need a little bit of notice, so that could be difficult at times for me.
Well, I mean, I need notice too. What kind of notice are we gonna get?
As far as like the public accuracy testing, normally between a week to 2 weeks. But as far as the, just approving things, I just kind of say, hey, you got this time off, and then I'll ask the other person, you got this time, and then we'll just schedule it for that. We do have to give public notice. It's a regular meeting, so 48 hours, but I do ahead of time. I normally do it on the day we have a meeting already, if we're in person, but I have to do it.
How many meetings do we have? How many meetings will we have? What's the time frame?
like this year, we're having a special meeting, so we're gonna have 2 meetings.
A special election, you mean?
Yes, special election. So we will have 2. One to approve it may take about 10 minutes, 5 minutes. The other, public accuracy testing, you want to pay attention to those, watch the ballots, the testing, and make sure they're all proofread, everything's, running smoothly, everything's correct.
Okay,
And in the past, Connie, I think I've attended once or twice.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking it maybe took an hour and a half, 2 hours
Yeah.
tops.
Yeah,
Mine's a little bit longer, but
I think in the 4 years I've been on it, we had maybe 6 meetings in 4 years, something like that.
okay, I'm good with it. I just have to take time off, so I just have to know when.
normally the accuracy test is within 30 days of the election, which the election is going to be May 4th.
Oh, okay,
So I should know within a couple weeks beforehand. But sometimes they don't give me much notice, and it's hard for me too, because I have a job as well.
yeah,
So, Treasurer Rice indicated that she's stepped in before. So I'm assuming our appointments need to be trustees, but any board member could step in if that's the only option we have.
I think what I'm hearing is that I have to take 2 weeks off.
Oh, I do, but you don't.
Paid, Connie, paid.
4 hour and a half, maybe an hour.
I had quite a bit of discussion on these different positions and had lots of discussions with each of you individually. Did everything I laid out make sense? Does it, any objections or
I'll make a motion that we accept all the board appointments.
Second,
you want me to list them for the record?
Sure.
No,
Lisa, we've already done the PC. Kim, we've already done the sidewalks. That would be Trustee Hauk to the Road Commission, Trustee Bills, Saginaw, Chippewa, Indian Tribe Liaison.
and election commission.
And election commission.
Oh, wait, let's do the election commission separate. I need a resolution for that
You
one.
need a resolution,
Or do it
okay.
Separate.
So Connie is liaison to the tribe, Trustee Thering, County Commission, and Trustee Brown, City Commission.
That's what I got.
So any further discussion on that list? I'll make one point is, if something's not working out, we can adjust appointments if necessary. This
Yep.
is not a lifetime sentence here.
Right.
All right, very good. All right, we have the motion,
We have the support.
we have the support. Any other discussion? Seeing
Yeah,
none?
just to these new
Yes.
guys, if you can't make a meeting, just call someone else and someone else can fill in for you. We've done that too.
Thanks for
Thank
that,
you.
Bill.
Good clarification. So can we get a vote on this then, Lisa?
Cody, yes. Hauk,
Yes.
Milky,
Yes.
Rice,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes,
Bills,
yes,
Herring.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
All right, before we do the election commission, if I may, just to note that as I was going through this process of looking at all the appointments we had to do, I did go look at section 3.10.3 in our policy governance. And in doing so, I kind of thought it was out of date a little bit and needed to be updated. And so I reached out to our clerk and treasurer and said, would you be willing to work on this with me so we can propose something to the board to get it updated? And our clerk said, I was already thinking that, but you started before I did. But I think Lisa was going to make similar changes to what I was looking at. And so having said that, we have a draft document that we're going to try to be bringing back to the board so that we can update our policy governance to be more reflective of the current state of things. So for example, it doesn't have election commission in there.
Yep.
For example, and the sustainability committee is in there, and do we need that or not? So I wanted to have that discussion. So Lisa, you want to? Yes, Treasurer Rice?
Oh, and I believe Mark actually sent that out to everybody. Am I correct?
No,
No?
no. I
That was
sent it to
something
Mark
else. Never
asking
mind.
if-
That's something else. Sorry.
So you
We had a
know
lot
what?
of communication
Sent
back and
Mark
forth
to ask
between
it
the
to be
three of
put on
us,
the
so.
agenda. So it would be, so this would be in your packet next time
Yeah.
or the following meeting. Okay, Lisa, we need election commission appointments.
Okay, somebody make a motion for Cody Hauk and Bills. I can't make the motion. or-
I make a motion to have trustee Hauk and trustee Bills as our election committee representatives.
I'll support that.
Second,
Lisa, did you say you need to be part of that motion?
She said she
I'm
can't.
just
but-
given on that.
Oh, sorry. And, yeah.
I'm the
And
clerk.
Lisa
I
Cody.
have to be on it, but I just put my name in it, just,
I was
yeah.
gonna say, sorry, amended and Lisa Cody.
Trustee Brown, you accept that amendment?
I do.
All right, any further discussion on that? Seeing none, would you get us a vote on this, Lisa? Clerk.
Trustee Daring,
yes.
trustee Bills,
Yes.
trustee Brown,
Yes.
treasurer Rice,
Yes.
supervisor Monkey,
Yes.
trustee Hauk,
Yes.
and clerk Cody, yes. Welcome.
All right. With that, that brings us to extended public comment portion of our agenda, item 11. This is restricted to 5 minutes regarding any issue. Note, again, this is an opportunity for comments only. Questions to the board will not be answered at this time. For specific answers to questions, please call Township Hall 989-772-4600. If you do want to speak, make sure you introduce yourself by name and address for the record. And if you're not familiar with Zoom, move your mouse on the screen, and at the bottom, there's a participants button. Click on that. It will open up a panel where there's a raise hand button at the bottom, and that will indicate to the board that you'd like to speak. If you're on the phone, press *9. I hopefully didn't forget anything to open public comment at 9:37 p.m. I did see Jeff Sweet earlier, but I think we bored him.
That's not surprising.
Yeah. Seeing no one coming forward, we'll close extended public comment at 9:37 p.m. With that, I'll hand the floor to our manager for his comments.
You're muted.
Wake up, Mark. Mark's been off for a while, so he's,
And I may have missed it. Who did the board appoint to the Intergovernmental Liaison Committee?
I didn't list it. My understanding was that it was the manager and the supervisor. But
That-
I'm sorry.
That's tradition. I mean, and just a quick minute on that. That's a group, county, city, tribe. And right now, the county rep is the county administrator, the board chair, and one other individual. I don't recall if it's a vice chair or not, but it's an elected official. The city is the city manager, the mayor, and the vice mayor. The tribe is normally the public relations director. And then the township has been traditionally, at least since I've been here, the manager and two board members, one of which has been the supervisor. You don't have to have two elected officials from Union Township, but for the last couple of years, it was the supervisor, and in the most immediate couple of years is Norm Worley.
So can I jump in here briefly? So that's my misunderstanding a little bit. And I think this is maybe what Lisa was referring to, is there is that formal meeting, and it would be good to have another trustee there. What I was referring to when I was more like the ad hoc, when we've got an issue to deal with the city, that it would be helpful to have the city liaison sit in on that. And I considered that part of intergovernmental reach out. But I would be very supportive of having someone else join Mark and I on the formal one where they all get together. And that's what you're referring to, Lisa, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's different than when I was a trustee before. We met with the county separately and then met with the city separately, and then met with the tribe separately.
And because of all the time, and we combined it.
Okay. Forgive me for not understanding that. So may we interject before we do your manager's comments and deal with that?
Yes, I'd suggest you name two people to the intergovernmental liaison. They try to meet at least twice a year, sometimes a little more often, depending on the need, but it's not real time consuming.
Do you know when the meetings usually are?
No, there's not a prearranged schedule.
Are they day or evening?
They're day.
Okay.
So I guess that, I mean, in some ways, that's an issue, is who might be able to do day meetings. And I'm sorry, Lisa?
I think I could.
Okay, I'm certainly capable of that. I mean, I work for myself, but, and I would like the opportunity to serve on that if you let me.
What kind of notice do you get, Mark, to know that the meeting is, I mean, is it typically a week, a month, that, you know?
It's I would say it's at least a month.
Okay. I mean, that's, if there's no one else interested, that's something I should be able to do with that kind of notice. But if there's somebody else that has, you know, no issue with the time, so be it.
I know Lisa indicated some interest. I mean,
We should,
Oh, yes, she did. No, that's fine. We're good. I'm sorry, Brian. I thought you were automatically there. I thought it was you and Mark and two others. It's Mark and two others. Is that what you're saying?
yes.
it should be
Okay,
the
no,
same.
we're good. Then I'm sorry. I misinterpreted that. We're good. Lisa's the one. Perfect. That's
If
my
I would say
misunderstanding.
if she's still interested.
She's still
I mean, if
interested.
I can't go, I can always call you and say, hey, can you fill in for me?
There you go.
There you go.
Who'd we lose?
Was that a motion,
It was a
James?
resident.
Yeah, I make a motion to appoint Lisa and Brian to the intergovernmental committee.
Support.
Any further discussion on that? Seeing none? Lisa, one last vote, I think, tonight.
Here we go. Clerk Cody, yes. Trustee Hauk,
Yes.
Supervisor Monkey,
Yes.
Treasurer Rice,
Yes.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Bills,
Yeah,
Trustee Thering,
Yes.
oh yes.
All right, Manager Stuhldreher, the floor is yours again.
Thank you. And I just have one announcement. I will be out of the office and out of the area next week. I wasn't able to get out last week when I thought I might. So I'll be in town through this coming Sunday, but then out of town Monday through Friday. And I'll send out a more formal notice, but Miss Kim Smith will be the acting township manager. And then the next time I'm out, it will be Miss Sherry Teal. for those of you who've been here, I've been kind of rotating, naming the acting. And this is just up where it is on the rotation. So thank you.
Very good. Final board comments. I'll start on the lower left here with Treasurer Rice.
Taxes. I was trying to think of what I had to say. Taxes are due February 16th. I highly recommend people get them in sooner rather than later. Takes a while to go through the mail if they're mailing it. But also, we have a drop box. So if you can't, if time is of the essence and you want to get it paid right now, drop it in the drop box, or better yet, you can do it right from your own home. And just go online, go to our website. There's a bill pay link, click on it. Takes you right to our BSNA website. Everything you need is right there to pay your taxes online. And then also we do still have it where you can come in. If you do that, you need to be wearing a mask and you need to go through our screening process in order to even see the secretaries in the front. So just putting that out there. It's for your safety and ours. So that's mine. Yeah.
Quick note or comment. I'm assuming when you talk about the mail, you're referring to the fact that the postmark date doesn't matter. It has to be in receipt by your office.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Post. We have to have received it by the 16th. It doesn't matter if you mail it on the 16th. We cannot accept. It'll get a late fee.
Right.
Unless you come and bring it into the township hall, put it in the drop box at the township hall on the 16th.
Prior to 4:30.
In person, we can't accept postage. So
very good. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Cody?
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Darren?
I think I'm good, thanks.
Trustee Bills?
Okay, so I'm gonna bring it up again. I don't know if it's appropriate. Around 14 months ago or so, the Sidewalks and Pathways Prioritization Committee submitted to the board a letter requesting sidewalks be built in all of the waiver areas. And I would like a spreadsheet with all of the statuses of each parcel submitted to the board. I don't know where it's at, and I think that we deserve to know. So I don't know when I'm supposed to tell you that, but I want that. That's what I want.
I would like to see that too. Trustee Brown?
Yeah, just Trustee Brown, you said?
I said Trustee Brown, yep.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I just tell you, we're just kind of getting our feet wet. We've been mentioned a couple of times about being new board members and stuff like that, and I think we're all starting to get on board. And I think tonight was our first split vote. We all have different personalities. We all accept each other. I just want to put it out there, guys, that I love every one of you, and I'm really liking this this board and working with every one of you. And I just want to put it out there. We're all going to have different opinions at times, but it doesn't change how we look at each other. It really doesn't. This board is extremely good board to work with. I've worked with different boards in the future or in the past of different employments, and I'm really happy to be amongst you guys. I'm really proud to work with you. Thank you.
Wow, thanks, Jeff. I'm proud to be here with all of you as well. Lisa, I see your hand is up. Did you have a question against something?
I forgot about something. There was an email sent out to us earlier. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but they asked for their letter be put into or read into public comment. Was that done when I wasn't here?
No.
No.
Were you going to?
No. I checked with MDA on this on a few things and they said, you don't want to do that.
Okay.
And I also had counsel with someone else too, but yes.
I agree. I think we want to do that.
And
Okay, well, it was asked, so I figured I'd throw it out there.
I appreciate that. It's happened in the past where some people have requested that and also spoke, and I'm like, well, that's not fair. They get more than their 5 minutes, and yeah, no, I didn't want to set that precedence of doing that per recommendations. I think we all read it. We all took it for what it said. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Trustee Hauk?
Okay, I just want some answers on a couple of questions for our next meeting. I'd like to know the status of our building official. We gotta figure this thing out. It's just it's dragged on for 5.5 years. It's ridiculous. I asked a question about 3 or 4 months ago about getting a price on dumpsters. The reason I'm saying that is I can hit a golf ball now from Declare Services, or I better hit it over the highway, but you hit it over the highway and you can go to the wastewater treatment plant with it. But I mean, he's good. He's right next door. I don't think it'd hurt to get a price. I asked, brought it up last meeting about solar panels. I'd like to have a discussion on that. Maybe we could get a consultant in. Like I said, Corey Block last meeting would be interested. Sacred Heart's famous fish fries are coming back, drive-through only, starting next week, or starting the 19th of February. You may see Mr. Thering and I out there. And it's time for Tylenol PM.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, clerk.
I was just asking a question. That wasn't a comment for the minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No,
Just
yep.
so
Thanks.
everybody's aware, I just wanted to know what,
I took it that way too. I wanted to respond to something you said, Bill.
Drive-through fish fry.
Solar
Yeah,
panels.
I know, that's awesome.
Solar panels.
The solar issue. Bill and I have talked about this a couple times now, and I actually brought this up to our manager in some discussions, and that's something we can talk about, is maybe we do that for revisioning too, because you certainly perked my interest on it.
Too.
Yeah, and I actually had some conversations with some local businesses that have solar panels and what their experience has been. And, one of the things we want to be careful of is businesses and residents can get tax breaks for that. Well, as a township, we don't get that. We potentially get grants, right? And what I think we'll see happen, just based on what I see going on with the current administration in Washington, is we may see some grant capabilities coming forward again. And that's really where those wind turbines outside Township Hall came from, was the initiatives that were back in 2010. There may be some great opportunities for grants for this township to look at alternative energy sources. Did you have something again, Clerk Cody? Yes.
no, I hit that on accident.
Okay. With that,
Good.
seeing no other hands, we'll call this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Make a motion.
Okay, motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
Good evening, everyone.
Have a good night, everybody.
You
So-
too.
Right.